questions to get us thinking. When was NITI Aayog officially established to replace the Planning Commission? You'll see 4 dates here. One of them marks the official launch. Keep this question in mind as we dive into the story behind this important shift in India's policy planning. Let's start with a key moment. NITI Aayog was established on New Year's Day in 2015. This wasn't just another government agency. It marked a shift in how policy and planning would be approached in India. From that day forward, NITI Aayog set out to be a think tank and a catalyst for change, aiming to foster cooperative federalism and drive sustainable development across the country. Let's look at the different bodies within NITI Aayog. We have the National Development Council at the top, followed by the Governing Council, then the Regional Council, and finally the Standing Committee. The question here is, which of these includes the chief ministers of all states and the lieutenant governors of union territories? Think about how these groups bring together leaders to shape policy and development across the country. The Governing Council is where the big decisions happen. It's the main policy-making body, bringing together representatives from every state and union territory. This is the space where diverse voices come together to shape the direction and priorities that affect us all. It's a true forum for collaboration and shared responsibility. Let's look at an important question about leadership in India's government. Who serves as the ex officio chairman of NITI Aayog? The options include the President of India, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, and the Finance Minister. This question helps us understand the key roles in shaping policy and governance through this crucial institution. Keep this in mind as we explore how NITI Aayog functions at the highest levels. Here, we see a key point about leadership roles. The Prime Minister holds the position of ex officio chairman. That means, by virtue of their office, they automatically take on this chairmanship. It's not a separate appointment, it's built into the role itself. This ensures continuity and a clear line of authority at the highest level. Let's take a moment to consider a key question about leadership in India's development policy. Who was the first vice chairperson of NITI Aayog? The options are Amitabh Kant, Arvind Panagarya, Rajiv Kumar, and Sindhu Srikala. This question helps us reflect on the individuals who have shaped the country's strategic planning and economic reforms through this important institution. Let's take a moment to recognize a key figure in this story, B. Arvind Panagarya. He served as the very first vice chairperson. His leadership helped shape the early direction and set the tone for what followed. Having someone with his expertise in that role was crucial for building a strong foundation. It's important to appreciate the people who guide these efforts from the start. Let's test what we know about NITI Aayog's leadership. The question is simple. Who was the first CEO of this important policy think tank? We have 4 names to consider: Sindhu Srikala, Rajiv Kumar, Arvind Panagarya, and Amitabh Kant. Each played a role in India's economic planning, but only one was the very first to lead NITI Aayog as CEO. Think it over. Who do you think it was? Let's take a moment to recognize D. Sindhu Srikala, who served as the very first CEO. Being the inaugural leader means setting the tone, laying the foundation, and steering the organization through its earliest days. It's a role that shapes everything that follows. Her leadership marked the beginning of this journey, and it's important to appreciate the impact of that initial vision and direction. Let's look at the different hubs within NITI Aayog. There's the Team India Hub, the Knowledge and Innovation Hub, the Institutional Hub, and the Regional Development Hub. The question here is, which one focuses on states and the central government collaborating on policies? This slide helps us understand how these hubs organize their work and where state-central cooperation fits in. The Team India Hub is a space where state governments and the central government come together. It's all about collaboration, working side by side to shape policies that matter. This hub helps break down silos, making sure everyone's voice is heard. When we join forces like this, we create solutions that are stronger and more aligned with the needs of the people. It's teamwork in action, driving progress across the country. Let's look at the different hubs NITI Aayog has set up. There's the Team India Hub, the Knowledge and Innovation Hub, the Human Resource Hub, and the Economic Growth Hub. Now, which one focuses on harnessing the demographic dividend? That is, building a skilled workforce to drive the future. Think about which hub is all about people, skills, and preparing the labor force for tomorrow's challenges. This question helps us understand how these hubs align with India's growth priorities. This hub zeroes in on people aged 15 to 64, the core working age group. The goal? To boost GDP by building skills that matter. By focusing on this group, we're investing in the workforce of today and tomorrow, making sure they're equipped to drive economic growth and innovation. It's about unlocking potential where it counts most. Let's talk about the number of pillars that guide effective governance in NITI Aayog's work. This question asks us to identify how many key principles or foundations shape their approach. Is it 5, 7, 10, or 12? These pillars represent the core ideas that keep their strategies focused and impactful. Understanding this helps us grasp how governance is structured and prioritized in this important institution. NITI Aayog's work is built on 7 key pillars of governance. These pillars guide how decisions are made and how policies are shaped. They form the foundation for effective, inclusive, and sustainable development. Understanding these pillars helps us see the bigger picture, how governance can be structured to meet the needs of a diverse and dynamic country. Let's explore what these 7 pillars are and why they matter. Let's look at the 4 pillars of NITI Aayog. They're all important, but one stands out when it comes to anticipating and meeting the needs of citizens. We have pro-people, pro-activity, participation, and inclusion of all. The question is, which one focuses on staying ahead of those needs, making sure citizens' voices are heard before problems even arise? Think about how these pillars guide the work of NITI Aayog in shaping policy and action. Proactivity means staying one step ahead. It's about anticipating what's needed before it becomes urgent and taking action early. Instead of waiting for problems to pop up, we look ahead, spot opportunities, and respond in ways that keep things moving smoothly. It's a mindset that shifts us from reacting to shaping outcomes. That's the power of being proactive. Let's look at 4 important pillars: participation, equality, empowering, and inclusion of all. Each plays a role in shaping society. But the question here is, which one specifically highlights giving women an equal role in society? Think about the pillar that focuses on fairness and equal rights. That's the one we're zeroing in on for this question. The empowering pillar is all about building self-reliance, especially for women. It's about giving people the tools, confidence, and opportunities they need to stand on their own. When we focus here, we're not just helping, we're enabling lasting independence. This approach creates stronger communities by lifting individuals to take charge of their own futures. Let's look at 4 important pillars of NITI Aayog: participation, transparency, equality, and inclusion of all. Each one plays a key role in how the government operates. But which of these focuses on making government work visible and accountable? That's the question we're tackling here. Think about which pillar ensures that what the government does is clear and open for everyone to see. Transparency means the government's actions are open and clear for everyone to see. It builds trust, because when people understand what's happening, they feel included and informed. Without transparency, suspicion grows. So, making government processes visible isn't just good practice, it's essential for a healthy democracy. Let's look at who calls together the regional councils within NITI Aayog to tackle local issues. The options are governor, prime minister, president, or chief minister. Understanding this helps us see how different leaders play a role in addressing regional challenges. It's about knowing who takes the lead in bringing people to the table for specific local concerns. This question tests that knowledge directly. Here, we see the Prime Minister taking an active role in problem-solving by calling together regional councils. These councils focus on issues that affect particular areas, bringing local insight directly into the decision-making process. It's a way to ensure that challenges unique to each region get the attention and tailored solutions they deserve. This approach helps bridge national leadership with regional needs, making governance more responsive and effective. Let's look at different types of planning. core, functional, indicative, and structural. Each plays a unique role in how we organize and guide projects or strategies. The question here is, which one focuses on setting broad goals and general guidelines, rather than zeroing in on specific targets? It's about understanding the level of detail each planning type brings to the table. This helps us choose the right approach depending on what stage we're at. Indicative planning sets a broad course. It's about giving general directions rather than strict rules. Its real strength lies in bringing the public and private sectors together, helping them coordinate their efforts. Instead of dictating every move, it creates a shared understanding, a framework where both sides can align their goals and work more effectively toward common outcomes. This approach builds collaboration without heavy-handed control. Let's talk about core planning in Indian governance. It's about who leads the planning process and how focused it is. Is it done by the top 10% of leaders? Or does the center ask states for their specific goals to stop funds from being diverted? Maybe it's planning focused only on nuclear energy or just the 5 most populated states. Understanding this helps us see how priorities get set and resources get allocated across the country. When it comes to core planning, the center reaches out to each state to understand their specific needs. This way, funds can be directed where they matter most, to the essential areas that truly require support. It's a targeted approach, making sure resources are used efficiently and effectively. Let's take a closer look at different types of planning. We have functional, structural, indicative, and core planning. Each serves a unique purpose. But which one focuses on creating new resources to tackle big, systemic problems like unemployment? That's the question we're exploring here. Understanding these categories helps us see how planning shapes solutions on different levels, from immediate functions to broader, long-term impacts. Structural planning is all about identifying the gaps in an economy, those weaknesses that hold growth back. Then, it focuses on building the resources and systems needed to overcome those deficiencies. It's a long-term approach, aimed at strengthening the very foundation of economic activity, so the whole system can perform better and sustain progress over time. Functional planning is about how we approach solving problems or making improvements. It's not about completely overhauling the government or changing the whole economic system, nor is it a plan that's never been tried before in India. Instead, functional planning focuses on using the resources we already have, without altering the fundamental economic structure. It's a practical, technical approach, honing in on specific functions to make things work better. Here, we're focusing on making the most of what's already in place. It's about maximizing the value of existing resources, rather than starting from scratch. By leveraging what's already built into the system, we can work smarter, not harder, and create solutions that are efficient and sustainable. This approach helps us move forward with confidence, using the strengths we already have. Let's talk about perspective planning, a way to look at planning through different time frames and viewpoints. It ranges from short-term plans we review every month to annual plans for the next 12 months. Then, there's broad, long-term planning that spans 15 to 20 years. And finally, a unique approach focuses solely on the perspective of the poor. Understanding these layers helps us see how planning adapts to different needs and horizons. Perspective planning looks far ahead, usually 15 to 20 years into the future. It's broad in scope, focusing on long-term goals and big-picture changes. Instead of quick fixes, we're thinking about where we want to be decades from now. This kind of planning helps us prepare for shifts we can't predict today, giving us a roadmap that guides decisions over many years. It's about vision, patience, and staying flexible as the future unfolds. Let's talk about multi-level planning, where local bodies like panchayats and municipalities play a key role. This approach is known as decentralized planning. Unlike centralized planning, which is controlled from the top, decentralized planning spreads decision-making across different levels. It allows local communities to have a say in how resources are allocated and projects are prioritized. This method helps tailor solutions to specific local needs, making planning more effective and inclusive. Decentralized planning means spreading out power and responsibilities instead of keeping them all in one place. It hands off planning duties to different levels of government: local, regional, national. This approach helps decisions reflect local needs better, encourages collaboration, and can make the whole system more flexible and responsive. It's about sharing the load, so no single group holds all the cards. Let's look at the sequence of 5-year plans, from the first in 1951 to the fourth ending in 1974. Now, the question here is, which of these plans was based on the Harrod-Damar model? This model focuses on investment and growth, so identifying the right plan helps us understand how economic theories shape development strategies during that period. Think about the timeline and the key features of each plan as we consider the answer. Our first plan took a straightforward approach. It focused mainly on agriculture. This meant prioritizing farming practices, crop production, and rural development. Agriculture was seen as the foundation for growth, a way to build stability and support communities. By concentrating efforts here, we aimed to create a strong base that could eventually support broader economic progress. It was a clear, focused start, one that shaped everything that came next. Let's look at a quick quiz question here. The Mahalanobis model, which plan was it the foundation for? You've got 4 options: first, second, third, or fifth. This model played a key role in shaping one of these plans. Think about the context and see if you can pinpoint which one it was. It's a good way to check how well you know the sequence and significance of these plans. The second plan, designed by P.C. Mahalanobis, put heavy industries front and center. The focus was on building a strong industrial base, steel, machinery, and other core sectors. This approach aimed to lay the foundation for long-term economic growth, shifting the country's focus from agriculture to manufacturing. It was a bold move, setting the stage for rapid industrialization and modernization. Here, we're looking at a question about a key moment in Indian political history. It asks during which plan the Indian National Congress adopted the socialist pattern of society at the Avadi session. The options are the first, second, fourth, or sixth plan. This question helps us connect political decisions to specific timeframes and policies, deepening our understanding of how ideas shaped India's development. Let's consider the historical context behind each option as we move forward. Now, let's focus on a key moment, the shift towards socialism that took place during the second plan in 1955. This wasn't just a small change. It marked a significant turning point in the direction of the economy and society. Understanding this shift helps us see how policies and priorities evolved, setting the stage for what came next. It's a crucial piece of the bigger picture we're exploring today. Here, we're asked to identify which plan is linked to the Gadgil Yojana. The options range from the second plan up to the fifth. This question tests our understanding of specific policy initiatives and their historical context. Knowing which plan introduced the Gadgil Yojana helps us connect policy names with their timelines and objectives. Let's think about the key features of each plan to find the right association. The third plan we're looking at is commonly known as the Gadgil Yojana. This initiative carries a specific vision and set of goals that distinguish it from the others. Understanding its unique approach helps us see how it fits into the broader strategy. Let's explore what makes this plan stand out and why it's important in the context of our discussion. Now, let's look at this question about historical plans and their outcomes. We're asked to identify which plan was considered the worst, specifically because it led to wars and drought. The options range from the second plan all the way to the seventh. This slide challenges us to think about the consequences of these strategies and how they impacted societies through conflict and environmental hardship. It's a key point in understanding the broader effects of planning decisions. The third plan faced serious setbacks. We saw war with China in 1962, followed by conflict with Pakistan in 1965. On top of that, severe droughts hit the same year. These challenges combined to derail the plan's goals, making it impossible to succeed as intended. It's a clear example of how external events can disrupt even the best-laid strategies. Here, we're looking at the concept of a plan holiday. This term refers to a specific period between different planning phases. The question asks us to identify which years mark this interval. The options span from the early 1950s through the early 1990s. Understanding this timeframe helps us grasp how planning cycles were structured and when pauses or breaks occurred in that process. Let's consider the historical context to pinpoint the correct period. After the third plan didn't work out, the approach shifted. Instead of committing to another long-term, 5-year plan, 3 separate annual plans were put in place. This change meant focusing on shorter time frames, allowing for more flexibility and quicker adjustments. It was a way to respond faster and learn from each year's results before moving forward. Here, we're looking at different plans ranked from 2nd to 5th. The question asks us to identify which plan aimed for growth with stability. It's about understanding the goals behind each strategy and matching that specific aim to the right plan. Think about what growth with stability really means: steady progress without risking too much, and then pick the plan that fits best. After the turbulence of the 1960s, the 4th plan shifted gears. Instead of chasing rapid change, it aimed for stable growth, steady progress that could be sustained over time. This plan was about laying a solid foundation, building resilience, and avoiding the boom and bust cycles that had caused so much uncertainty before. It marked a new chapter focused on balance and long-term success. Let's take a moment to look back at a key moment in India's economic history. The question here asks which 5-year plan was cut short by the Janata Party government in 1978. It's a reminder of how political changes can directly impact long-term economic strategies. Understanding which plan was affected helps us see the interplay between governance and development goals during that period. This sets the stage for exploring the consequences of that decision in the years that followed. We wrapped up the 5th plan ahead of schedule to make way for something new, the rolling plan. This shift wasn't just a change in timing. It was a strategic move, designed to keep us flexible and responsive. Instead of sticking rigidly to long-term goals, the rolling plan lets us adapt as we go, adjusting priorities based on what's happening right now. It's about staying agile in a fast-moving world. Let's take a moment to look at a key question about India's economic history. The rolling plan, which ran from 1978 to 1980, was a unique approach to planning. Now, who introduced it? Was it Indira Gandhi, Morarji Desai, Rajiv Gandhi, or P.V. Narasimha Rao? This question helps us understand the shifts in policy during a critical period of India's development. Keep this in mind as we explore the broader context of economic reforms. Let's look at a key moment in planning history. Morarji Desai's government brought in something called the rolling plan. Instead of fixed, rigid targets, this approach allowed plans to be flexible and adaptable over time. It was a way to keep development goals aligned with changing realities, making planning a continuous, evolving process rather than a one-time blueprint. This shift marked a new mindset in how governments approached economic strategy. Let's focus on a key question about development plans. We're asked, in which plan did the goal of removal of poverty, or Garibai Hataao, first become a major theme? The options range from the 4th to the 7th plan. This question highlights a pivotal moment when poverty eradication took center stage in policy. Understanding this helps us see how priorities shifted over time in shaping social and economic strategies. Let's talk about a powerful moment in India's political history. Indira Gandhi launched the Garibai Hataao slogan during the country's 5th plan. It means remove poverty. This wasn't just a catchy phrase, it became a rallying cry for social change and economic reform. The slogan captured the urgency of tackling poverty head-on, making it central to government policy and public consciousness. It marked a shift toward more inclusive development goals. Here, we're looking at a question about priority levels in different plans. The focus is on when the private sector was given the highest priority for the very first time. We have 4 options: 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th plan. This question challenges us to track changes in emphasis over time and identify the moment the private sector took center stage. It's a key point for understanding shifts in strategy or policy focus. The 7th plan, running from 1985 to 1989, marked a clear shift in focus. Instead of relying mainly on public funding, it aimed to boost private investment. This change reflected a new approach to economic growth, encouraging businesses and entrepreneurs to take a bigger role. It was a turning point, setting the stage for more market-driven development in the years ahead. Let's look at a key moment in economic history, the formal introduction of LPG reforms. That stands for liberalization, privatization, and globalization. These reforms marked a major shift in policy, opening up the economy in new ways. The question here is, which plan officially brought these changes into effect? Was it the 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th plan? Understanding this helps us trace the path of economic transformation. The 8th plan, running from 1992 to 1997, marks a turning point, a time of major economic reforms. This era reshaped the way the economy functioned, opening doors to new opportunities and challenges. It's a period where bold changes were made to encourage growth, increase efficiency, and integrate more with the global market. Understanding this plan helps us see how foundational shifts set the stage for what came next. The 10th Five-Year Plan, running from 2002 to 2007, set out some ambitious goals for the country. Among these, it aimed to double the per capita income, a bold target that would directly improve living standards. It also focused on tripling agricultural output, recognizing the sector's vital role. Other options, like nationalizing all private banks or removing all taxes, weren't part of this plan's core objectives. This slide helps us understand the specific priorities set during that period. Here, we're looking at a clear and ambitious goal to double per capita income within just 10 years. It's a bold target that sets the tone for everything that follows. This objective isn't just about numbers. It's about transforming lives, boosting opportunities, and driving sustained economic growth. Achieving this would mean real progress for individuals and the nation as a whole. The 11th Five-Year Plan, running from 2007 to 2012, set out some clear objectives. It aimed for fast and more inclusive growth, making sure progress reached everyone. It focused on growth with justice, balancing economic gains with fairness. Self-reliance in defense was another key goal, strengthening the country's security. And finally, doubling industrial output, boosting production to power the economy forward. These goals shaped the plan's direction and priorities. This initiative zeroed in on growth that's both rapid and inclusive. The goal was to lift as many people as possible, across different sectors and regions, without leaving anyone behind. It wasn't just about speed, it was about making sure the benefits reached everyone, creating a foundation for lasting progress. Inclusive growth like this builds stronger economies and healthier communities. Let's look at the specific motto of the 12th and final five-year plan, covering 2012 to 2017. The question is about which phrase best captured the plan's vision. Was it Garibai Hadao, or maybe growth with stability? Could it be faster, more inclusive and sustainable growth, or self-active and self-reliant? Each option reflects a different focus, but only one was chosen to guide that crucial period of development. This part of the plan introduces a key addition, the word sustainable. By doing this, it shifts the focus from just inclusive growth to growth that can last, without depleting resources or leaving future generations behind. It's a reminder that progress isn't enough if it can't be maintained over time. Sustainability becomes a core part of how we define success in growth. Let's clarify what the bank rate means when we talk about commercial bills. It's not about the interest on your savings account or how the government sells treasury bills. It's also not the rate for RBI buying gold from banks. Instead, the bank rate is the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India rediscounts bills of exchange. This rate influences lending and borrowing costs across the economy. Understanding this helps us see how monetary policy affects everyday banking. Let's talk about the bank rate. This is the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India rediscounts bills of exchange or commercial bills. In simple terms, it's the cost RBI charges when it provides short-term funds to commercial banks by buying their bills. This rate influences lending rates across the economy, acting as a key tool to control money supply and inflation. Understanding this helps us see how central banks steer economic activity. Let's look at how the Reserve Bank of India might respond if it wants to increase the money supply in the market. There are different types of monetary policies to consider. Tight money policy, dear money policy, contractionary policy. These usually aim to reduce the money supply or control inflation. On the other hand, cheap or expansionary money policy is designed to pump more money into the economy. So, if the RBI wants to boost the money supply, it would follow an expansionary or cheap money policy. When we reduce rates like the CRR or the repo, we're essentially putting more money into the system. This extra liquidity makes borrowing cheaper and more accessible. Think of it as lowering the cost of money. It encourages spending and investment. So, by adjusting these rates, policymakers can influence how easily money flows through the economy, helping to stimulate growth when it's needed most. Let's talk about open market operations, or OMOs. These involve the buying and selling of specific financial assets by the central bank to regulate money supply. The options here include foreign gold, government securities, corporate shares, and agricultural land. But which one does the central bank actually trade in OMOs? It's government securities, or GSECs. These are the key instruments used to control liquidity in the economy through OMOs. Let's talk about what OMO means. It stands for Open Market Operations. This is when the Reserve Bank of India buys or sells government securities. They do this on behalf of the government. It's a key tool to manage liquidity in the economy, to either pump money in or take money out. Essentially, it's how the RBI keeps the financial system balanced and stable. Let's look at some of the tools the RBI uses to control credit. There's the cash reserve ratio, the statutory liquidity ratio, and the repo rate, all quantitative measures. Then, there's moral suasion. Unlike the others, moral suasion is a qualitative method. It's about persuasion rather than numbers, encouraging banks to act responsibly without formal rules. So, when we talk about qualitative credit control, moral suasion stands out as the RBI's way of guiding behavior through influence, not regulation. Moral suasion is all about persuasion, encouraging banks to do the right thing without strict rules or numbers. Instead of handing down hard mandates, it relies on dialogue, trust, and influence. It's a softer approach, asking banks to align with broader goals because it's in everyone's best interest. This method can be powerful when cooperation matters more than compliance. Let's break down what the marginal requirement means in banking. It's not about the minimum balance a customer must keep, nor is it the tax paid on marginal profits. It's also not the last unit of money printed. Instead, it's the difference between the value of a loan and the value of the collateral pledged to secure it. This margin protects the lender by ensuring there's a buffer if the loan's value changes. Here, we're looking at a qualitative tool used by banks to manage risk. Essentially, the bank maintains a margin on the collateral's value. This means they don't lend the full amount of the asset's worth. They keep a buffer. That margin helps protect the bank if the collateral's value drops, adding a layer of safety to the lending process. It's a practical way to balance opportunity with caution. Let's break down how the Reserve Bank of India interacts with banks and the public. The RBI lends directly to the public. That's point A. Commercial banks borrow from the RBI, which is point B. The RBI also borrows or takes deposits from commercial banks. As in point C, and banks lend to each other, which is point D now. The reverse repo rate is the rate at which the RBI borrows from commercial banks. It's a key tool in managing liquidity. Here, we're looking at the rate the Reserve Bank of India pays to commercial banks for parking their funds with it. This rate acts as an incentive, encouraging banks to hold money safely with the RBI. It's a key tool in managing liquidity, helping control how much cash flows through the banking system at any given time. Understanding this rate gives us insight into how central banks influence the economy behind the scenes. Let's look at the current inflation target range set by the Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee. The options show different percentages, from 0 to 2%, up to 8 to 10%, and a few in between. The key figure here is a fixed 2% target, which is the official benchmark the RBI aims for to keep inflation stable and predictable. Understanding this helps us grasp how monetary policy guides the economy. Let's talk about RBI's inflation target. They aim to keep inflation within a band between 2% and 6%. This range gives some flexibility, allowing the economy to grow without prices spiraling out of control. Staying within this band helps maintain stability so people can plan their spending and saving with confidence. It's a balancing act, not too hot, not too cold. That's the goal RBI works toward every day. Let's look at who holds the casting power in the Monetary Policy Committee. Is it the Finance Minister, the SEBI Chairman, the RBI Governor, or the Prime Minister? This question helps us understand where the key decision-making authority lies when it comes to setting monetary policy. It's an important point, because knowing who drives these decisions shows us how monetary policy is shaped and who ultimately influences the economy's direction. When the 6-member committee ends up tied, someone has to break the deadlock. That's where the governor steps in, holding the deciding vote. This ensures decisions don't stall and keeps the process moving forward smoothly. It's a simple but crucial rule, one voice that tips the balance when the committee can't reach agreement on its own. Let's look at the different systems used for issuing currency notes. We have 4 options here: the maximum reserve system, the proportional reserve system, the minimum reserve system, and the fixed exchange system. Each one represents a different approach to how much reserve a country holds against its currency issuance. The question is, which of these systems does India follow when it comes to issuing its currency notes? We'll explore that next. When it comes to issuing currency notes, the Reserve Bank of India has a crucial responsibility. It must always keep a minimum reserve of 200 crores on hand. This reserve acts as a financial backbone, ensuring that the RBI can back the notes it issues. It's a safeguard, a way to maintain trust and stability in the currency system. Without this minimum reserve, the whole process of note issuance wouldn't have a solid foundation. Here's a question about the minimum reserve required for note issuing. Out of the total 200 crore, how much of that needs to be held specifically in gold? The options range from 50 crore up to 150 crore. This helps us understand the role gold plays in backing currency and maintaining financial stability. Let's think about the significance of this reserve and what the correct amount might be. Here, we see a clear guideline for managing funds. About 115 crore should be held in gold, a stable, tangible asset. The remaining 85 crore, however, can be kept in foreign currency. This mix balances security with flexibility, allowing us to leverage different types of reserves depending on market conditions and strategic needs. It's a practical approach to managing resources wisely. Let's clarify what we mean by national income. It's a specific economic measure, not just any number. The options here show different ways to calculate income: GDP at market price, NNP at market price, NNP at factor cost, and GNP at market price. Each one tells a slightly different story about the economy. Understanding these terms helps us grasp how national income is officially defined and measured. Let's talk about net national product at factor cost. This is the standard way economists define national income. It measures the total value of all goods and services produced by a country's residents, after accounting for depreciation. In other words, it reflects the actual income earned by the nation's factors of production, like labor and capital, during a specific period. This figure gives us a clear picture of the economic health and productivity of a country. When we talk about measuring economic progress, there are several key concepts to keep in mind. Economic growth looks at the overall increase in a country's production. Economic performance is a broader term, covering various indicators. Economic development includes improvements in living standards and infrastructure. Industrial output focuses on manufacturing and production levels. But when we want to understand how wealth translates to individual well-being, per capita income is the best indicator. It shows the average income per person, giving us a clearer picture of economic prosperity. GDP gives us a snapshot of a country's overall economic performance. But if we want to understand how that translates to everyday life, we look at per capita income. This measure tells us more about development and well-being, how wealth is shared among people, and the standard of living they can expect. It's a crucial distinction, because a growing economy doesn't always mean everyone's quality of life is improving. Let's break down what the GDP deflator really means. It's a ratio, a comparison between two measures of economic output. Specifically, it compares nominal GDP, which is measured using current prices, to real GDP, which adjusts for inflation and uses constant prices. This ratio helps us understand how much of the change in GDP is due to price changes, rather than actual growth in production. It's a key tool for distinguishing real economic growth from inflation-driven increases. Here, we see how the GDP deflator is calculated. It's a simple formula. You take nominal GDP, divide it by real GDP, and then multiply the result by 100. This gives us a clear measure of price changes across the economy, helping us understand inflation's impact on overall economic output. It's a key tool for comparing economic performance over time. When we calculate real GDP, we focus on prices from a specific point in time, the base year prices. These constant prices let us strip out the effects of inflation, so we're comparing apples to apples over different years. It's not about current market prices or future expected prices, and definitely not just prices of luxury goods. Using base year prices gives us a clearer picture of actual economic growth. Real GDP helps us see the true growth of an economy by stripping out inflation. It uses a base year as a reference point, so we're comparing apples to apples over time. This way, we focus on actual increases in production and value, not just rising prices. It's a clearer picture of economic health, helping us understand whether things are really improving or just costing more. Let's break down this question about GNP, gross national product. The formula here is GNP equals GDP plus X minus M. We're asked what the M stands for. It's important to remember that in trade terms, X usually means exports. So, M represents imports, the value of goods coming into the country. This helps adjust GDP to reflect income from abroad, giving us a fuller picture of national economic activity. Here, we're looking at money flowing out of the country, but not just any money. This is income that foreigners earn here and then send back to their home countries. It's an important piece of the puzzle because it shows how much of our earnings are leaving the domestic economy. Understanding this helps us see the bigger picture of international financial connections and how they impact our own economic health. Let's look at a question about the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, specifically the TAR-run category. The question asks, what's the maximum loan amount available here? The options range from 50,000 to 1 crore. This slide challenges us to understand the financial limits set for young entrepreneurs under this scheme. It's a key detail for anyone interested in small business funding in India. TAR-run offers loans ranging from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. This range is designed to meet various financial needs, whether it's for personal expenses, business growth, or other important goals. By providing options within this bracket, they aim to make borrowing accessible and manageable for a wide group of people. It's a flexible offering that can adapt to different situations and plans. Let's look at the different categories of Mudra loans. These are designed to support various stages of entrepreneurship. The question here is which category is meant for entrepreneurs starting a business for the very first time. We have 4 options: Shishu, Kishore, TAR-run, and Adult. Each serves a distinct purpose, but one specifically targets new entrepreneurs just getting started. Let's explore which one that is. Let's talk about Shishu loans. These are designed specifically for startups, giving them access to funds up to 50,000. It's a way to kickstart new businesses with a manageable loan size, helping entrepreneurs get off the ground without overwhelming debt. This small but crucial support can make all the difference in turning ideas into reality. Let's talk about the Stand Up India scheme. It's designed to support specific groups in society by providing targeted loans. The focus here is on empowering small farmers, women entrepreneurs, and those from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. This initiative isn't aimed at large industrialists or IT professionals, but rather at those who often face barriers in accessing finance. It's about creating opportunities where they're needed most. This part focuses on encouraging entrepreneurship within particular groups. The goal here is to create opportunities where they might not have had any before. By targeting these communities, We're not just supporting individual businesses, we're building stronger, more inclusive economies that benefit everyone. It's about opening doors and giving people the tools they need to succeed on their own terms. Let's take a look at the range of loans offered under the Stand Up India initiative. They start at 10,000 and go up to 50,000 in one category. Then, from 50,000 to 10 lakh in another. Moving higher, there's a range from 10 lakh to 1 crore. And finally, the largest bracket spans from 1 crore to 10 crore. These tiers show how the program supports businesses at different stages, with funding tailored to their needs. Under this scheme, the loans offered range from 10 lakh to 1 crore. That means we're talking about significant funding, enough to make a real impact. Whether it's a growing business or a new venture, this range is designed to support serious financial needs, giving borrowers the flexibility to scale up or invest as required. It's a key detail that shapes who can benefit from this initiative. Let's look at who Mission Indradhanush, launched in 2014, aims to protect through immunization. The focus is on specific groups most vulnerable to disease. These include farmers facing crop failure, children under 2 years old and pregnant women, senior citizens fighting COVID-19, and Army personnel. Understanding these target groups helps us see the mission's priorities, safeguarding health where it matters most. This question asks us to identify which group the mission primarily focuses on. This initiative focuses on 7 major diseases that affect children and mothers. By targeting these specific illnesses, we can make a real difference where it matters most. It's about prioritizing health challenges that have the biggest impact on families and directing resources and attention to improve outcomes for both mothers and their children. This targeted approach helps us focus our efforts and measure success more clearly. Let's look at the Antyodaya Anna Yojana, launched in 2000. The question here is, how many kilograms of food grains does this scheme provide to each family? The options range from 10 to 50 kilograms. This initiative aims to support the poorest families with essential food supplies, helping to ensure food security where it's needed most. Understanding the exact allocation helps us grasp its impact and reach. Here, we see a key benefit. It provides 35 kilograms of highly subsidized food grains. That's a significant amount, especially for families relying on support. This subsidy helps ensure access to essential nutrition, easing the burden of food costs. It's not just about quantity, it's about making food affordable and available when it's needed most. Let's take a moment to think about the Antyodaya program, a significant initiative aimed at uplifting the poorest of the poor. The question here asks us which state was the first to implement this program. The options are Kerala, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. As we consider this, keep in mind the social and political context in which such programs often begin, reflecting the priorities and challenges of each state. This question helps us connect policy with place. Rajasthan led the way by being the very first state to adopt this program aimed at uplifting the poorest of the poor. This initiative set a precedent, showing how targeted support can make a real difference where it's needed most. It's a powerful example of leadership in action, paving the path for others to follow. Let's take a moment to understand what the PMWANI scheme stands for. It's an initiative aimed at expanding wireless internet access across India. The options here give us clues, from Water Access Network India to Women Advance Network India. But the correct expansion is Wireless Access Network India. This scheme is about making Wi-Fi more accessible, affordable, and widespread, helping bridge the digital divide in the country. One key part of this initiative is offering public Wi-Fi access through data offices. This means people can connect easily, whether they're working, studying, or just staying in touch. It's about making the internet more accessible, right where communities need it most. Public Wi-Fi helps bridge gaps and opens up new opportunities for everyone. Let's look at the Himyat scheme, a program designed to train and place young people in meaningful jobs. This initiative focuses on a specific region in India. The question here is, which area benefits from this scheme? Is it Uttar Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Northeast India, or Tamil Nadu? Understanding where programs like HIMYAT operate helps us see how targeted efforts support youth employment in different parts of the country. This part focuses specifically on the youth of Jammu and Kashmir. We're looking at their unique experiences, challenges, and opportunities. By zeroing in on this group, we can better understand their needs and how to support them effectively. It's about tailoring our approach to fit their reality, not a one-size-fits-all solution. This specificity helps us create meaningful impact where it matters most. Let's look at the CUET Jyoti scheme, launched back in 1988. Its goal was to bring single-point electricity connections to below-poverty line families in villages. This was a big step toward improving rural living conditions. Alongside this, other initiatives focused on free housing for the rural poor, better seeds for farmers, and midday meals for girl children. Together, these efforts aim to uplift communities by addressing basic needs and empowering the most vulnerable. This part of the project zeroed in on bringing electricity to rural villages, places where many people still live without power. The goal was simple but powerful: to improve quality of life by lighting homes, powering schools, and supporting small businesses. By focusing on the poor, the initiative aimed to create real, lasting change where it's needed most. It's about more than just electricity, it's about opportunity and connection. Let's talk about the Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, a savings scheme aimed at securing a girl child's future. One key detail is the maximum amount you can deposit in a financial year. The options range from 50,000 to 2.5 lakh rupees. Knowing this limit helps in planning your contributions wisely, ensuring you make the most of the scheme's benefits without exceeding the cap. Let's talk about the deposit limit. The cap is set at 1.5 lakh per year. That means you can't put in more than this amount annually. It's a clear boundary to keep things manageable and fair. Understanding this limit helps us plan contributions wisely without exceeding the set threshold. Under the MGNREGA scheme, if someone applies for work but doesn't get any within 15 days, they have a right to compensation. This slide asks what that compensation might be. Is it nothing? A government job? An unemployment allowance? Or double wages later? The key point here is understanding the protections the scheme offers when work isn't immediately available. Let's explore which option reflects the actual entitlement under MGNREGA. If no work is provided, they start receiving daily wages or allowances from the 16th day onward. This ensures some financial support kicks in after 2 weeks without assignments. It's a way to balance the system, encouraging work when available, but offering a safety net when it's not. Let's explore what an indifference curve really represents. It shows combinations of two goods that give a consumer the same level of satisfaction. Imagine you're choosing between apples and oranges. Any point along this curve means you're equally happy with those combinations. It's not about income or taxes or supply and demand directly. Instead, it's all about understanding consumer preferences and the trade-offs they're willing to make. This concept helps us see how choices balance out in everyday decisions. Here, we're looking at goods that deliver the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. In other words, no matter which option they choose, the overall benefit or happiness they get remains constant. This idea helps us understand how consumers make choices when faced with different products offering equal value. It's a key concept in analyzing preferences and decision-making. Let's take a moment to unpack Gresham's law. It's best captured by the phrase, "bad money drives out good." What that means is when two forms of currency are in circulation, the one with lower value tends to be used more, while the higher value money disappears from everyday use. This idea helps explain certain economic behaviors around currency and value. It's a key concept that shows how perceived worth influences what people actually spend. We often hold onto what we see as good money, the new, shiny, high-value bills. We keep those close, almost like a prized possession. Meanwhile, we're more willing to spend the bad money, the older, worn bills that feel less valuable. This behavior shapes how money flows in everyday life, influencing everything from spending habits to how currency circulates in the economy. It's a subtle but powerful pattern we all take part in. Let's talk about the law of diminishing returns. It tells us that when we keep adding more of one input, like labor, while holding everything else steady, the extra output we get starts to shrink. In other words, each new worker contributes less than the one before. It's not that total output stops growing, but the rate of increase slows down. This idea helps explain why simply adding more resources doesn't always lead to proportional gains. This idea is all about diminishing returns. As we add more input, whether it's time, effort, or resources, each new unit contributes less than the one before. At first, the gains are big and noticeable, but over time, the impact shrinks. Eventually, piling on more input barely moves the needle at all. It's a crucial concept to understand when we're trying to optimize anything. Knowing when to stop is just as important as knowing when to start. Let's talk about Giffen goods, a fascinating exception in economics. Unlike most goods, where demand falls as prices rise, Giffen goods actually see demand increase when their price goes up. They're a special type of inferior good, which means people buy more of them even as they get more expensive. This challenges the usual rules of supply and demand, making Giffen goods a unique concept to understand in consumer behavior. Let's talk about Giffen goods, a curious exception to what we usually expect. Normally, when prices rise, demand falls. But with Giffen goods, it's the opposite. People actually buy more as the price goes up. Why? Because there aren't good substitutes available. So they're stuck buying more of the expensive item, even when it costs more. It's a fascinating twist in how we think about buying behavior. Let's look at 4 important economic curves: the Lorentz, Kuznets, Phillips, and Laffer curves. Each one tells a different story about how variables relate. The question here is, which curve shows an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment? Think about how these two factors move in opposite directions. The answer is the Phillips curve. It captures that trade-off clearly. Understanding this helps us grasp key dynamics in macroeconomics. Let's talk about the Phillips curve. It suggests there's a trade-off between unemployment and inflation. When unemployment falls, inflation tends to rise. The idea is that as more people have jobs, wages go up and businesses pass those costs on as higher prices. So lower unemployment often means prices start climbing faster. It's a key concept for understanding how the economy balances jobs and prices. Let's break down the idea of a bilateral monopoly. It's a market situation where there's exactly one seller and one buyer, just the two of them. This setup is unique because both sides have significant power, unlike in markets with many buyers or sellers. Understanding this helps us see how prices and negotiations work when neither side faces competition. So when you hear bilateral monopoly, think one seller, one buyer, a true one-on-one market. Let's look at a simple example, a single large company working with just one trade union. This setup helps us focus on the core dynamics between employer and employee representatives. It's straightforward, but it still reveals important insights about negotiation, collaboration, and conflict resolution within a defined framework. From here, we can build up to more complex scenarios. Let's take a closer look at market structures and the nature of their products. The question here asks, in which market structure is the product homogeneous, meaning identical across all sellers? We're comparing 4 types: monopoly, monopolistic competition, perfect competition, and oligopoly. Understanding which of these features identical products helps us grasp how competition and consumer choice work in different markets. It's a key concept that shapes pricing and strategy. In perfect competition, every seller offers exactly the same product. There's no difference in quality, features, or brand, just one uniform product available from all sellers. This means buyers don't prefer one seller over another based on the product itself. Instead, competition happens purely on price and availability. It's a key assumption that helps us understand how markets behave when no single seller can influence the price. Let's talk about different market structures and how they shape competition. When we see product differentiation through advertising, it's a clear sign of monopolistic competition. This is where many companies sell similar but not identical products, and advertising helps them stand out. It's not a monopoly, where one firm dominates, nor perfect competition, where products are identical. And it's definitely not a monopsony, which deals with a single buyer. Understanding this helps us see why advertising matters so much in certain markets. We use branding to tell products apart, especially when they're pretty similar. Take toothpaste, for example. There are lots of options on the shelf, but each brand tries to stand out with its own look, feel, and promise. Branding helps us choose by giving each product a unique identity, something familiar and trustworthy in a crowded market. It's how companies make sure their toothpaste isn't just one more tube, but the one we reach for. Let's talk about the kink demand curve, a concept usually linked to certain market structures. It's most often found in an oligopoly, where a few firms dominate the market. In this setting, companies face a demand curve that's kinked because they expect rivals to match price cuts but not price increases. This creates a unique pricing dynamic, unlike perfect competition, monopoly, or duopoly. Understanding this helps us see how firms behave when competition isn't quite perfect, but not entirely absent either. Now, let's look at why prices tend to stay steady among a small group of big competitors. When just a few players dominate the market, they often avoid undercutting each other aggressively. This rigidity happens because each one watches the others closely, knowing that a price change could trigger a costly price war. So, prices stay stable, not because they can't change, but because it's safer for everyone to keep them that way. Let's talk about dumping in international trade. It's when a company sells a product in another country at a price lower than what it costs to produce. This practice can hurt local industries because it undercuts fair competition. It's not about selling waste or just selling cheap goods. It's specifically about pricing below production cost to gain market advantage. Understanding this helps us see why dumping is often regulated or challenged in trade agreements. Sometimes, companies take aggressive steps in foreign markets to push out their competition. This tactic isn't just about growth, it's about dominance. When a business acts this way, the goal is often to eliminate rivals, making it harder for others to survive or thrive. It's a strategy that can reshape entire industries, but it also raises important questions about fairness and market health. Direct taxes have some key characteristics that set them apart. First, they're usually regressive in nature, meaning they can affect lower-income groups more heavily. They're also applied only to imports in certain cases. Importantly, the impact and incidence of direct taxes fall on the same person. The taxpayer can't shift the burden to someone else. This ability, or lack of it, to pass on the tax is what really defines a direct tax. Here, we're looking at a fundamental rule of taxation. It says the person who the tax is levied on must actually pay it. In other words, the legal responsibility to pay the tax falls directly on that individual or entity. This principle helps clarify who's accountable when taxes are assessed, making the system more straightforward and fair. It's a basic but crucial piece of how tax law works in practice. Let's take a moment to think about taxes in India. We have GST, customs duty, income tax, and excise duty. Out of these, which one is considered progressive? That means the tax rate increases as the income or value increases. It's an important concept because it shows how the tax system can be designed to be fairer by asking those who earn more to contribute a higher percentage. The answer here is income tax. As people earn more, they also pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes. This idea is central to progressive taxation, the principle that those with greater ability to pay contribute a larger share. It's a way to balance fairness and funding for public services, ensuring the tax system scales with income rather than being flat or regressive. Let's talk about how indirect taxes are generally classified. They can be progressive, meaning the tax rate increases as income rises, or regressive, where lower-income earners pay a higher percentage of their income. Then there's proportional, where everyone pays the same rate regardless of income. And finally, voluntary, which suggests some element of choice in paying. Understanding these categories helps us see the impact of taxes on different groups in society. Let's talk about what makes a tax regressive. Simply put, it takes a bigger bite out of the income of people who earn less, compared to those who earn more. So, even though everyone pays the same rate, the impact feels heavier on those with lower incomes. This kind of tax can widen inequality, because it leaves less for essentials when money is already tight. Understanding this helps us think critically about fairness in taxation. Let's take a moment to think about taxes. We have wealth tax, sales tax, value-added tax, and GST. Now, 3 of these are indirect taxes, meaning they're collected from consumers but paid to the government by businesses. But one of these is different. Which one isn't an indirect tax? This question helps us understand how taxes are categorized and how they impact us differently. Keep this distinction in mind as we move forward. Let's start with the basics. A wealth tax is a direct tax on an individual's assets. That means it's not about income or spending, it's about the value of what someone owns. Property, investments, savings, all counted. This kind of tax aims to address wealth inequality by targeting accumulated assets, rather than just earnings. Understanding this foundation helps us explore the broader impact and debates around wealth taxation. Fiscal policy is all about managing the economy by adjusting government revenue and spending. That means taxes and how the government chooses to use that money. It's not about interest rates or foreign exchange, those belong to monetary policy. And it's definitely more than just gold reserves. So, when we talk fiscal policy, we're really focusing on how governments balance their budgets to steer the economy. Now, let's look at who holds the reins here. The finance ministry is in control. This means they oversee the decisions, manage the resources, and guide the financial direction. Understanding this control is key to grasping how the system operates and where accountability lies. It's a central piece of the puzzle we're putting together. Let's take a closer look at what usually happens with deficit financing. It often leads to deflation. That's when prices fall across the board. Sometimes, it can cause a decrease in the money supply or even higher savings as people hold onto their cash. Inflation, on the other hand, is less common in this context. Understanding these outcomes helps us predict the bigger economic picture. When a government prints more money to cover a budget gap, it's not just about having more cash on hand. This action actually increases the overall money supply in the economy. More money chasing the same amount of goods and services usually means prices start to rise. In other words, printing money can lead to inflation, making everything more expensive over time. It's a tempting fix, but it comes with real consequences. Zero-based budgeting is a method where every project starts fresh each year. Instead of assuming last year's budget carries over, you build the budget from zero, no matter what was spent before. It's not about having no money or only budgeting for the poor, and it definitely doesn't mean a budget that has zero impact on inflation. This approach forces us to justify every dollar, every time. Every project has to prove its worth again and again. Funding isn't automatic or guaranteed. Each cycle, we need to show why this work matters, why it deserves resources, time, and attention. It keeps us focused on impact and results, making sure every dollar counts toward something meaningful. This approach drives accountability and continuous evaluation throughout the project's life. Let's look at the different ways the RBI is stepping in to support people and the economy. We have options like helping people with home loans, tracking stock market prices, checking illegal money collection, and providing loans to students. The question here is about Sasheet, a portal launched by the RBI. Which of these roles does it serve? We'll explore that next. One of the key roles it plays is in keeping financial activities above board. It helps regulate the flow of money, making sure everything follows the rules. More importantly, it acts as a watchdog against illegal financial actions, catching fraud, money laundering, and other shady dealings before they can do harm. This kind of oversight is essential for maintaining trust and stability in the financial system. Let's talk about the term green gold. It's a nickname given to a plant that's highly valued, often for its economic or cultural importance. The options here are wheat, green tea, bamboo, and gold grass. Each has its own significance, but only one is famously called green gold. This question invites us to think about which plant holds that special status, often linked to its green color and great value. Bamboo is often called green gold. That's because it's incredibly useful, and it grows fast, too. From building materials to textiles, even food, bamboo plays a huge role in many industries. Its versatility and sustainability make it a valuable resource. When you hear green gold, think of something that's both economically important and environmentally friendly. That's the power of bamboo. Let's take a moment to think about where the headquarters of SIDBI is located. We have 4 cities to choose from: Mumbai, Delhi, Lucknow, and Kolkata. Each city has its own unique role in India's economic landscape, but only one is home to SIDBI's main office. Think about what you know of these cities and their financial significance. Which one do you think it is? Let's take a closer look at the Small Industrial Development Bank of India. This institution is headquartered in Lucknow. It plays a key role in supporting small industries, providing financial assistance and guidance. Being based in Lucknow, it serves as a regional hub for fostering industrial growth and development in the area. Understanding its location helps us appreciate its strategic importance in the broader economic landscape. Let's talk about the Indian rupee symbol, that distinctive mark we see every day. Who designed it? Was it Raghuram Rajan, D. Udaya Kumar, Manmohan Singh, or C.D. Deshmukh? This question challenges us to connect a familiar symbol with the creative mind behind it. It's a reminder that even the simplest signs have stories and people shaping them. Let's pause to recognize the creative mind behind this design. B.D. Udaya Kumar, a student at IIT Bombay, crafted it back in 2010. His work has since become a defining symbol, showing how thoughtful design can capture identity and meaning all at once. It's a great reminder that powerful ideas often come from fresh perspectives and bold creativity. Now we're looking at a key moment in history, the year of Great Divide for the Indian population. The question asks us to identify which year marks this significant turning point. Is it 1901, 1921, 1947, or 1951? Each of these years carries its own weight in India's story, but only one truly represents that pivotal divide. Let's explore what makes this year stand out. In 1921, something important happened in India's population story. That's when growth shifted from fluctuating to positive and steady. From this point on, the population began to rise consistently. It marked a turning point, setting the stage for the demographic changes that followed in the decades ahead. Understanding this moment helps us see how population trends evolved over time. Let's look at a key moment in India's agricultural history, the start of Operation Flood, also known as the White Revolution. This initiative transformed dairy farming and made India one of the largest producers of milk in the world. The question here is, who started this revolution? The options include Sam Pitroda, Norman Borlaug, Dr. Verghese Kurian, and M.S. Swaminathan. Think about the impact each had before we reveal the answer. Let's talk about Dr. Kurian, often called the father of the White Revolution in India. He transformed the dairy industry, turning India from a milk-deficient country into the world's largest milk producer. His vision and leadership empowered millions of farmers, creating a cooperative model that changed lives and economies. This revolution wasn't just about milk. It was about self-reliance and sustainable growth. Let's take a moment to think about when the National Development Council, or NDC, was established. The options range from 1950 to 1969. This question helps us pinpoint a key moment in the history of national planning and development. Knowing the right year gives us context for how the NDC fits into broader economic and policy shifts over time. It's about understanding the timeline of progress and governance. This organization was established on August 6, 1952. Its main purpose was to finalize the 5-year plans, those strategic blueprints that guide long-term development. By setting clear goals and priorities, it helped steer progress in a focused, coordinated way. Understanding this formation gives us insight into how planning and execution came together during that era. Let's talk about different types of unemployment and where the marginal productivity of labor hits zero. We have structural, frictional, disguised, and seasonal unemployment. The key question is, in which of these does the marginal productivity of labor drop all the way to zero? Understanding this helps us see where labor isn't adding value at all, and that's crucial for shaping effective policies. Let's explore this idea further. When we talk about disguised unemployment, adding more workers doesn't actually boost total output. In other words, piling on extra hands doesn't mean more gets done. The work is already spread thin, so those additional workers aren't really contributing to increased production. This idea helps us understand why simply increasing labor input isn't always the answer to growing output in certain situations. Let's look at the four main sectors of the economy: primary, secondary, tertiary, and mining. The question here is, which one has steadily grown its share in India's GDP over time? We know the primary sector involves raw materials, secondary is manufacturing, tertiary covers services, and mining is a subset of primary. The answer lies in understanding India's economic shift toward services. That's the sector that's consistently expanded its role. The service sector has taken the lead as the biggest contributor to our national income. This shift reflects how much our economy now depends on services, from healthcare and education to finance and entertainment. Understanding this change helps us see where jobs are growing and where investment is flowing. It's a major piece of the puzzle when we talk about economic growth and future opportunities. Let's talk about who recommends the minimum support price, or MSP, for agricultural products. This is a key policy tool that helps protect farmers by ensuring a minimum price for their crops. The options include NABARD, CACP, NITI Aayog, and RBI. Among these, the Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, or CACP, is the body that actually recommends the MSP. They analyze costs, market trends, and other factors to suggest fair prices for farmers. Now, let's turn our attention to the Swaminathan and Dalwhite committees. These groups have played a key role in shaping the conversation around minimum support prices, or MSP. Their recommendations have sparked important debates about how to ensure fair prices for farmers, while balancing economic sustainability. Understanding their work helps us see the complexities behind agricultural pricing policies and why they matter to millions of people. Let's take a moment to consider a question about Indian Nobel laureates in economics. Among these four distinguished figures, Manmohan Singh, Amartya Sen, Abhijit Banerjee, and Raghuram Rajan, who was the first to receive this prestigious honor? This question invites us to reflect on their contributions and the impact they've had on economic thought worldwide. It's a chance to connect history with achievement and to appreciate the milestones in economics from India. Let's take a moment to recognize Amartya Sen, the first Indian to receive this honor. His work has had a profound impact on economics and social justice worldwide. This milestone not only celebrates his achievements, but also highlights the global reach and influence of his ideas. It's a reminder of how one individual's contributions can resonate far beyond their own country. Let's break down what a capital-intensive industry really means. It's an industry where large amounts of capital, like machinery and equipment, are needed compared to labor. In other words, machines play a bigger role than people. So, labor is less important than the machines. And no, it doesn't mean the government provides all the money or that no investment is required. It's all about the balance between capital and labor in production. Some industries depend a great deal on costly machinery to keep things running. These machines aren't just tools, they're major investments that shape how work gets done. Because of that, managing and maintaining this equipment becomes a top priority. When the machines work well, everything flows smoothly. But when they don't, the impact can be significant, affecting productivity, costs, and even safety. Understanding this reliance helps us see why these industries approach operations the way they do. Let's look at a key question about India's governance. Which organization replaced the Planning Commission? The options include the Finance Commission, SEBI, NITI Aayog, and NABARD. This question tests our understanding of recent institutional changes and how the government plans and coordinates development today. The right answer points to the body that now guides policy planning and fosters cooperative federalism in India. Let's talk about a key moment, January 1, 2015. That's when NITI Aayog officially took over. This marked a shift in how policy and planning were approached. NITI Aayog stepped in with a fresh vision, aiming to foster cooperative federalism and drive sustainable development. It wasn't just a change in name, but a new way of thinking about India's growth and progress. Let's take a closer look at the idea behind laissez-faire. The phrase literally means, let it be or leave alone. It's about non-interference, stepping back and allowing things to unfold without strict control. On this slide, you'll see different approaches, from strict regulation to equal distribution, but laissez-faire stands out as the philosophy of minimal intervention. It's a principle that's shaped economics, politics, and much more. At the heart of a free market capitalist economy lies a core philosophy. It's the idea that individuals, driven by their own interests, make decisions that collectively shape the market. This philosophy trusts that when people are free to buy, sell, and compete, resources flow efficiently and innovation thrives. It's a system built on choice, competition, and the belief that markets, left largely to themselves, can create prosperity for all. Let's talk about hot money. It's not just any cash, it's money that moves fast, usually across borders, chasing quick profits. It's not about crime or just currency with high value. Instead, it's capital that's recently printed or rapidly shifting between countries, trying to make short-term gains. Understanding this helps us see how global finance reacts instantly to changes, sometimes causing big swings in markets. Portfolio investments, especially foreign institutional investors or foreign portfolio investors, often get labeled as hot money. That's because this kind of capital moves quickly, chasing short-term gains and shifting with market sentiment. It can flow in fast, boosting markets, but it can also exit just as fast, creating volatility. Understanding this helps us see why these investments are both an opportunity and a risk for economies. Let's talk about the Palma ratio. It's a way to measure income inequality, specifically, the gap between the richest 10% of a population and the poorest 40%. Unlike other measures, it focuses on this particular divide to highlight disparities in wealth distribution. So, when you hear about the Palma ratio, remember, it's all about understanding how income is shared between the very rich and the lower income groups. Here, we're looking at a key concept, income inequality. This measure helps us understand how income is distributed across a population. It shows whether wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few or spread more evenly. By tracking this, we get a clearer picture of economic fairness and social balance within a society. Stagflation is a tricky economic condition. It happens when inflation is high, but unemployment is also high, and economic growth is low. It's a rare and challenging situation because usually, inflation and unemployment move in opposite directions. Here, they both stubbornly stick around, making it tough for policymakers to fix things. So when you hear stagflation, think of a stagnant economy with rising prices and jobs hard to find. We're looking at an economy that's stuck in place, not growing, not moving forward. At the same time, prices keep going up. This combination creates a tough environment for everyone. It means people have less buying power and businesses face more challenges. Understanding this helps us see why change is urgent and necessary. Let's look at a key question about India's 5-year plans. Which plan put a big focus on iron and steel production, with 3 major plants coming online? Was it the first, second, third, or fifth plan? This question helps us understand how industrial priorities shaped the country's development during that era. It's a great example of how strategic planning guided economic growth. Let's look at the industrial growth during the second plan period. 3 major plants, Bhilai, Rourkela, and Durgapur, were established. These plants played a crucial role in building the country's steel and heavy engineering base. Setting them up marked a significant step towards self-reliance and industrial modernization. Each plant contributed uniquely to the overall development strategy laid out in that plan. Let's take a moment to think about this question. Who wrote the book Does Capital? It's a key work in economic theory, known for its critique of capitalism. The options here include Adam Smith, J.M. Keynes, David Ricardo, and Karl Marx. The answer is Karl Marx. He wrote Does Capital to explore the dynamics of capitalism and its effects on society. This question helps us connect important thinkers to their ideas. Now let's turn to Karl Marx. a towering figure whose ideas on socialism and capitalism have shaped much of modern thought. His work dives deep into how economic systems influence society, power, and class struggles. Understanding Marx helps us see the roots of many debates about wealth, labor, and inequality that still resonate today. It's not just history, it's a lens for looking at the world around us. Let's talk about sunk costs. These are costs that have already been paid, expenses you can't get back, no matter what you do next. They're different from future costs, which you can still influence or avoid. Understanding sunk costs helps us make smarter decisions by focusing on what lies ahead, not what's already behind us. This slide breaks down the concept and asks us to pick the best definition. When we talk about historical costs, we mean expenses that have already been incurred, money spent in the past. These costs don't change based on what we decide to do next. Because of that, they're irrelevant when making future decisions. Instead, we focus on costs and benefits that will actually be affected by the choices ahead. Ignoring historical costs helps us avoid common mistakes and make smarter, more forward-looking decisions. Let's talk about purchasing power parity, or PPP. It's a way to compare the cost of living between countries by looking at living standards and exchange rates. It's not about things like how many people buy gold or power generation in different states. And it definitely doesn't have anything to do with the speed of light. PPP helps us understand real purchasing power across currencies. That's the key idea here. This point highlights how we measure a currency's real value by looking at what it can actually buy at home compared to other countries. It's not just about exchange rates or numbers on a screen. Instead, it's about the true purchasing power, the everyday goods and services that money can get you. This comparison helps us understand economic strength in a more tangible, meaningful way. Let's take a moment to focus on income distribution and the concept of equality. Among these curves, the one known as the line of equality is the Lorentz curve's 45-degree line. This line represents perfect equality, where everyone has the same income. It's a benchmark, a reference point to see how far actual income distribution deviates from equality. Understanding this helps us grasp economic disparities in a clear, visual way. Let's focus on the 45-degree line in the Lorentz curve. This line is our benchmark. It shows perfect equality. Every point along it means income or wealth is shared evenly across the population. No one has more, no one has less. When the actual Lorentz curve lies below this line, it reveals inequality. The further away, the greater the gap. This simple line helps us see just how far a society is from true equality. Let's talk about the Hindu rate of growth. This term describes India's economic growth between 1950 and 1980, a period when growth was notably slow. The rate hovered around 1% per year. That's surprisingly low, especially for a developing country with so much potential. Understanding this helps us see why later reforms were so critical in changing India's economic trajectory. We've looked at a period marked by a steady, unchanging growth rate, just 3.5%. This term captures that sense of stagnation, where progress felt slow and predictable. Understanding this helps us see why change was so necessary and sets the stage for what came next.